Okay, well, I'd like to welcome everybody today. I think it's going to be a very, very informative program today. I know the chiefs have worked diligently on it for weeks now to prepare, so give them an applause afterwards. So, we could, right now, I'd like to recognize former Mayor Chuck Doubleair with the mouthful of food. Chuck? And then also Commissioners Hill, Decker, Seth, I know you're here somewhere, Seth Mingus, and Mike Sutherland. So commissioners. And remiss also, the tables over here are the police, fire, public works, and East Side guys. East Side guys, we work with them on a lot of things, and they're amazing with what they do, with what they have, and with the festival, 4th of July, all the different things that we do together. So wait till you see this year's festival. They got a lot of good things planned for it, and it's really going to be exciting. So 40th year. So let's see. Other than that, Mayor Call, if you could help us in the pledge and the prayer.
Well, I don't need to tell you, but please rise for the invocation, then we'll remain standing for the pledge. Heavenly Father, thank you for giving us the opportunity to gather here today. We ask you to guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of doing what's best for our community. May everything we do begin with your inspiration and continue with your guidance. We ask this in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. You may be seated. Yeah, I was surprised to learn from Rick yesterday that the 4 commissioners would be present today. I think this is the first time I've seen all of them join us here for an Eggs and Issues. Just real quick, thank everybody for coming out today. I'm going to introduce both our police chief and our fire chief here in a second. This is a very interesting topic, and I just want to point out, not just with like active shooter training and things like that, the importance of doing that, but we have lined up next week, at least at City Hall, AED stuff, which we should actually be doing refresher courses about once a year. So if you don't do this stuff on a regular basis, it's pretty amazing how easily you can forget. These guys are natural. This is what they do in their professions each and every day. So we appreciate the importance of today and the importance of having you here so you can listen to what they have to offer. And just know that beyond this, if you need to reach out to either one of these gentlemen for further assistance with your business, schools, whatnot, please do so. This stuff is really important, especially in this day and age. So without further ado, we have with us today Fire Chief Zimmerman and Fire Chief Catton, and I guess there was a coin toss, and Chief Catton gets to go first. So it's my honor to introduce to you Police Chief David Catton.
Well, thank you all for coming out. Some of what I'm going to talk about today isn't always easy to talk about, but really what it comes down to, and I hope everybody gets something out of this, but basically being prepared, as the mayor was talking about, this is every day for us, but it's because we train. It's not because we're anything special. It's because we're prepared. We train. We spend a lot of hours doing what we do prior to an actual critical incident. So hope you get that much out of it, if not a couple more things. So, you know, we're here to talk about workplace safety. And I want you to know what our officers do for each business that's in East Peoria. And if you're not from East Peoria, move your business over here and we'll take care of you. So since January 1st of this year, we've conducted over 800 business checks. And basically what that is that's our officers coming to your business, whether it's while you're open, walking in just to say hi, or whether or not that is after hours when your business is closed. So our officers do a great job. It's a directed patrol that we have every single night that they're required to go through the businesses and make sure that they're secure and everything's safe. So I give a credit to our guys for doing that. It's not always an easy thing to do, especially with all the calls that they're running, but I think they do a good job and make big efforts to do that. But I will thank every single business here that welcomes our officers when they walk in the door. It's recognized, we see it. So big thank you when we walk in the door and you guys don't hesitate to say thank you and also provide a cup of coffee, which is always great. So we thank the businesses for that. But one of the things that's maybe not well known, the schools know it, but we do a lot of site assessments for businesses. We'll be more happy to come out and do one of those for you. It's no cost to the business. It's just a public service that we provide. And basically those site assessments, the officers will come out, they'll look at your business, they'll make some recommendations on some maybe just procedural changes that you may want to make at your business, or some minor investments as well. So if you feel like that's an avenue you want to go, please just give us a call and we'll be more happy to take care of that. One of the things that we really benefit from is talking to the businesses. That's why we encourage you guys to call us and have us come out and do some sort of site assessments. Talking to your staff is so important to us. I've personally done these, and what's exciting about when we do them is to see what responses we give to each individual business. But what's more important is what their fears are for a critical incident. It helps us in our response and things that we can do better in order to adjust ourselves to respond to a critical incident. So if you're not interested in doing a site assessment and you just want us to come out and talk to your staff and kind of get a feel of what our response is going to be in a critical incident, whatever it may be, please feel free to give us a call. We'll be more happy to do that as well. The schools know those site assessments, I think, are very beneficial. One of the things in those site assessments, it may be as simple as getting a 3M protective films over your windows. It may just be a simple procedural change. It may be lighting. Those are kind of some of the things that we suggest, and I think the schools pretty much have done all the things that we've suggested to them. You're not required to do it, but it is something that we suggest. So, like I said, if you're interested in that, please reach out. But a couple of things that your businesses can do to really help us and the fire as well is keep your business contact information current and up to date. As you know, some of you businesses have gotten phone calls from us at 2 o'clock in the morning because something's wrong at your business, you have an unsecured door or whatnot. So if you probably our records are probably pretty old. If you're new to the city, then we probably have you on file. But we will have that on our website next week, so you can just download it, fill it out, and then just email it right back, and we can update that. So that way, if we do get an alarm call, we know who to call and who not to call. And then have the biggest thing I ask, it would really help us out, is have your alarms serviced regularly. We handle a lot of false alarm calls. That's one resource that really drains us, especially when we're in a heavy call load, because it takes 2 officers for every single one of those calls. So if you could do that, we'd appreciate it, and it helped cut down on the false alarm calls. But something I want you guys to know in East Peoria, our high priority calls, our response time is less than 3 minutes. So that will come into play in some of the critical incident stuff we're about to talk about. But if 3 minutes or less is a critical incident response time. Low priority calls, I think this is a target number that I'm pretty proud of. Our low priority calls are about 7 minutes for our dispatch times. And that's anything. That may be calls holding. We don't like to, in East Peoria, have calls hold. We take pride in that not happening, so we try to get there as fast as we can. But 7 minutes for a low priority call. So obviously a couple things that we're here to talk about is active shooters and robberies, what to do at a business. These are very different responses by each individual victim because the motivations of the suspect are different. So these motives are vastly different. Active shooters, their motive is simply to kill or injure as many people as possible. And robbery is simple, money. They want money. But first we should talk about the physical security measures because, and this is what I'm talking about when I say just be prepared. Because if you're not prepared, you're already defeated. And the biggest thing I would encourage you to remember, I say this all the time when I talk to people, please understand, be prepared because it does happen here. It doesn't happen to the frequency of a big city or even Peoria, but it does happen here, unfortunately. So when we talk about active shooter, we've had it in East Peoria, right? Most of you probably remember one that's very close to here that happened. So it does happen here, just not to the frequency. And if we could stop it all, we would. It's just not possible. But being prepared as your physical security measures is the number one thing that you need to look at. Maintain a well-lit interior that is visible from the street. Many years ago when I was a patrolman, that was the one thing that used to drive me crazy when I drive around. When we drive and patrol the area, one of the main things we do is we look at businesses as we pass by. And if I can't see the customer service area, that's my OCD kicking in, and I don't like that. So if you could remove your signs and planters and all those other things that obstruct the view from the customer service area, we'd appreciate it. And another thing, storage rooms. A lot of the things I'm going to talk about is things that we've actually had happen here. So storage rooms that have locks that can be opened from the inside. It's something that don't always get thought about, but robbers sometimes lock employees in the storage rooms and then they can't get out. So we always suggest hide a key in there or make sure that those handles can be opened from the inside. This did happen. We had a robbery in town, and everybody was locked into the back room, and all their phones were taken from the victims, and one victim hid their phone from the robbers, so that's how we got called. They didn't know that she had her phone. So again, it does happen, and little things like that you can always do to help protect yourself. And then give employees a view of their surroundings through such things like convex mirrors or elevated vantage points. And so this is where I always encourage leaders and owners to sit in the chairs of their employees and see what they see, because I'm a little bit OCD like this. I have to see my surroundings. Every single cop in this room's like this. I have to know kind of what's going on and what's around me. I don't like to be surprised from around the corner. So employees should be the same way. They need to have that visible view of anything that's coming around. Obviously, secure tellers areas and cashier areas. One of the things too in a lot of businesses, they like to have these open areas, and that's great. But just define your areas between where a customer should be and where a customer should not be. Because then that's just a red flag. That's just a red flag for your employee. If a customer comes into that area where it's not authorized, it's a red flag for them to be a little bit suspicious. Surveillance camera equipment, this happens too. Like I said, we like to learn our lessons from actual events, but if you have surveillance cameras, lock up the DVR or the recorder where somebody can't get it. So if the place is burglarized or if a robbery happens, they don't steal the DVR, so we have no surveillance equipment to download. That kind of goes without saying, but it does happen, and it's happened here quite a bit. So, and then silent alarms. A lot of people are using silent alarms, which is obviously a good thing for a lot of businesses. And if your employees should know about a silent alarm, let them know about it. Probably the biggest downfall is we get a lot of new employees in businesses and they don't even know what they have. So, and that's just something when we respond there. But you should always teach new employees your protocols and or your technology that's there. And then locks seldom use doors and windows. Doors should have viewers on them, and then obviously after you receive your delivery, make sure you lock that door. But this is the one single advice I can give to help prevent and also catch a bad guy. The single event. More solved cases happen from good exterior lighting and surveillance on the outside of the business. I can't tell you how many cases we have solved from exterior surveillance video. We get more detail from more valuable information from surveillance video on the outside of the business than we do the inside of the business. Most robbers know, burglars know, there's probably going to be some sort of surveillance video on the inside of the business. They're not necessarily prepared for it on the outside of the business. So having that good lighting that can also see. So we did have a case. It was an aggravated arson case actually, and the business nearby had surveillance video or surveillance on the outside of the business, and just enough ambient light that on the truck it had a very distinct sun-faded pattern on the hood of the truck. And we were able to identify that truck by that sun-faded pattern on the surveillance video. And oddly enough, or luckily enough, that did come up in court. And that ended up being a significant identifier as for that suspect who ultimately got 12 years in prison for that one. So maintain shrubs and trees, and just like at your house, obviously trim those trees and shrubs so that way people can't hide behind them at the close of business. And then train employees to watch for people and report suspicious activity inside and immediately outside of the premise. Don't hesitate to call us. A suspicious person that is seen today may turn out to be the robber who returns tomorrow. This can't be more true. So we've had several cases where this has happened, where we had a suspicious person who was loitering around a business. They never called us. And then later that night, he came back and robbed the establishment. We were able to identify him. He was masked. Again, goes back to that surveillance on the outside of the business. And he was masked, so we didn't know who he was. But he came back earlier in the day, so a lot of times when we come to your, let's say you have a robbery or a burglary, and we come to your establishment, we'll ask for surveillance video for the last 24, 48 hours. And the reason we do that is not to pry into your business, but it's simple. A lot of times they come in the store prior to robbery. So we had a guy who came in at 10 o'clock in the morning, actually with a small child, and was shopping, got a Monster Energy drink, I believe it was, and left the business. Outside exterior business, we could see which direction he went, what neighborhood he went to. And then came back later before close. It was, I think it was 10 o'clock, right before 10 o'clock. And came back masked with a knife and robbed the business. So we were able to identify him because of him coming back earlier in the day. And a little tip, burglars never change their shoes. They'll change their clothes, they'll change everything else. They just don't change their shoes. So that was a shoe identifying case, which was kind of neat, but we ended up catching him over in Peoria. But remember, every situation is unique and requires different action from you as the business or employee. That's why we stress to employers and employees to always mentally train yourself for scenarios while you're at work or even when you're out to dinner with your family. Mental preparation techniques help reduce your stress for critical incidents. Being prepared also enables you to regulate your emotions well. My family already knows. When we go out to eat, we walk up to the table, they always tell me, I'll sit here because I know you can't sit with your back to the door. So that happens every single time. They already know. But there are rare circumstances, like today, you have multiple doors, and there's just circumstances where you can't sit. I can't sit with my back to the door, but it happens. So if I'm sitting facing the door, it lowers my stress and relieves my nerves. That's just mental preparation. And you should do that anytime you go somewhere and anytime you have anytime you walk into your business. But active shooters has changed over the years. We know this. I want to take a moment to pause and really recognize, unfortunately, we lost 4 lives in Georgia this week. It's also another reason why it's important for us to talk about this stuff, because it does happen. It happens a lot. But I want to recognize the SROs in that school that saved probably more deaths that were pending. It's something I'm passionate about, having SROs in the schools. We have 3 of them in our public schools. This state is trying to take that away from us, and they want to pull those out of the schools. I see them as a huge benefit, and this is another case where it came in to be very, very beneficial. And it's happened. You don't hear about it a lot, but it has happened more than just this year. So very beneficial, and I do want to shout out to those SROs for doing their job. But schools do these drills, and I really want you to think about how often you do them at your business. The second question is, if you're not doing them, why not? Statistically, an active shooter incident is more likely to occur at your business than at a school. Now, I won't get into all the back and forth of statistics, but I will use the FBI statistics. In the U.S. in 2023, there were 14 businesses that had an active shooter incident. 1 in Illinois, by the way, while only 3 occurred at schools. So I really encourage you. I'm an analytical guy, statistical guy, so I really encourage you, statistically, it's going to happen at your business before it's going to happen at a school. But what to do at an active shooter incident? Now, we kind of talked about this. The FBI puts out some videos that you can go online and watch on YouTube. I really didn't want to bore you guys with playing it. I really didn't. We've all been through those trainings, and they're obviously not paid actors, let's put it that way. So I saved you all the misery of having to watch those videos, but it's real simple. This is what the FBI teaches. This is what they're teaching all around the country for any business. Schools are a little bit different situation, but also they're a unique situation, a little bit different. But it's real simple. If you have an incident at your business, remember 3 things: run, hide, or fight. That's it. Run, hide, or fight. Now, there's a couple things that will help if you're going to run. This goes back to the mental preparation. Always be aware of your alternate exits, and also make sure all your employees know where your alternate exit is. Obviously, if it's a small business, not really a big deal, but they probably know that. But larger businesses, it can be very beneficial. Obviously, you're going to run away from the attacker, and then don't hesitate, because seconds matter. And then leave all belongings behind. And then lastly, this is probably the one thing that we've asked that's probably the most important. Just keep empty hands raised and clearly visible when you're running. Obviously, with concealed carry in this state, and I've referenced an active shooter incident already this year, or not this year, I'm sorry, in this town. You have off-duty law enforcement, you have people who are concealed carry that may be already in this business. So we want to make sure that the bad guys are being taken out, not you. So empty hands raised and clearly visible. And then obviously follow all the instructions when the police arrive. If your only option is to hide, there's no safe escape route, then find a good hiding place. Lock and barricade the door and then silence all cell phones. There are active shooter cases that we do know that they heard phones ringing, so the shooter knew where exactly to go. So obviously we in a stressful time, it's very, very difficult to try to remember that. But hopefully if we talked about it today and you mentally prepare, you'll know. But hiding, there's nothing wrong with that. And that's when I go back to that 3-minute response time. You're just buying time, and we'll be there, because obviously our responses have changed over the years, or it should have changed. I know we haven't always got it right. But our goal, or our training is simple. Get to the scene as fast as you can. Don't wait for anybody. Don't wait for backup. We're not surrounding the business. We're not surrounding the school. We're going to take care of the threat. We're going to eliminate the threat. That's where we're going. And so 3 minutes. That's all we ask. And lastly, fight. This has happened, obviously, we all remember 9/11. It's kind of the same situation with that, right? You got to fight. If you know you have no other resort, fight. Just like those guys on the airplane did, fight. And remember, this goes without saying, but you're fighting for your life, and so don't fight fair. Use teamwork if you have multiple employees. Use teamwork to game plan and come up with a plan on taking out the shooter. Now, after all that fun, enjoy information, we'll go move to robberies. The fire will come up here. He'll tell you all the cool stuff, but I get all the bad stuff, I guess. Robbery, I'll define it. Robbery is a person who commits robbery when he or she knowingly takes property from the person or presence of another by the use of force or threat or imminent use of force. There's aggravating factors for that. That will turn it into aggravated robbery or armed robbery. The one that gets confused is robbery and burglary. Those two terms are kind of synonymous. A burglary is, just remember this way, somebody enters into a business to commit a theft. That's what a burglary is. But for our purposes today, during a robbery, if this is the first time you're going to think about a robbery, or this is the first time you ever encounter maybe that this is going to happen, I've said before, you're already defeated. You should have already mentally prepared yourself for this type of event. I won't go into a lot of stuff about during a robbery. It's very simple. Stay calm, give them the money, and they'll generally leave. The only thing we ask from our victims, just be a good witness. Just be a good witness, that's it. The last thing we care about is catching the bad guy. Our main focus is, our first priority is you as the victims, and that's our first priority. Second priority is catching the bad guy. But be observant, plan to be a good witness, try to know as much as possible about the robber. Physical descriptions, all those things are great. But if you've prepared yourself, prepared your business, we can work out all the rest of that stuff later. And I know Rick asked me to talk about a couple different things as well. As far as mental health crisis, homelessness in this town, and which we do pretty good of. And I'll talk about a couple of those things a little bit. Never thought in my career to have to talk about this. It used to be if you saw somebody or know somebody having a mental health crisis, you just call us. So one thing we've learned over the last 5-6 years, people are hesitant to call us on a mental health crisis. I don't know exactly what the fear is. Well, I kind of know what the fear is, but we track on how many mental health crisis calls we go on. State enacted a law that we have to track these and report these as well. In 2021, we handled 38 mental health crisis calls that year. That was a half a year actually, because it went into effect I think in July. And then 2022, we handled 96. In 2023, we handled 110 mental health crisis calls. And then 2024, we handled or this year we've handled 70 already. So we're probably going to surpass 2023. So it is becoming a little bit of an issue for us. But here's what I can tell you. Don't be afraid to call us. Of all those incidents I just talked about, we've never had an issue. We usually get these people help. An officer may arrive on scene and take several courses of action when responding to a PIC, as a person in crisis. We usually respond with fire on this as well. So we offer mental health referral information to the individual and/or family members. That's option one. Option two, assist in accommodating a voluntary admission to the hospital. Step three, take the individual into custody and provide transportation to a mental health facility for an involuntary psychiatric evaluation. That's very rare. There's a lot of legalities we have to go through in order for that to happen. But we can have it happen, make it happen. Or lastly, make an arrest if a crime was committed. We're not going to just arrest these people just because. So if you have that at your business, please just give us a call. We'll be more than happy to handle the situation. I was just telling somebody this the other day. They were telling us about somebody they had in their business, and I knew exactly who she was talking about. We have a pretty good rapport with all of our people that have mental health crises in their lives. So there's not too much of an issue there. But with that, one of the things that we do a lot is we bar people from your property. And it's like I said before, a lot of times a suspicious person will become your robber tomorrow. So if you have a problem with somebody, or a repetitive problem, whether it be somebody who keeps coming to your business, you don't want them there, they're being unruly, we can always bar them from that property. And basically what that means is we'll trespass that person who's becoming a habitual problem. We'll place a hot file on that person, and then that person will be barred from your property for 2 years. At least that's how long we keep it in our system. The officer will put that name in our system, so anytime we deal with them in the future, whether it be your business or other businesses, it will automatically populate, and it will give us that notification that they've been barred from your property. And then we can obviously, at that time, make a decision on whether or not to make an arrest or not. Now, obviously, with bail reform, there's a lot of legalities that we have to go through in order to get them off your property, but generally that's not a problem. We'll get them off your property. And then lastly, homelessness. I think the city just passed a homeless ordinance, or tweaked the homeless ordinance. We've always had this ordinance, so nothing's really changed in the city. We take a pretty aggressive approach in trying to move these people along. We have no resources for them in East Peoria. The resources are in Pekin and Peoria. So keeping all their dignity as possible, we will move these people along, and they know where we're going to take them, and generally we'll take them to a shelter. But if you're having that problem, just call us. That's another thing that we've asked for all of our businesses. If you have a homeless problem, look, we want to be sympathetic to them, but also we have to keep public safety in mind and move these people along and get them the resources they need, which we can do. But one of the things, again, this is another topic that we're talking about that you didn't necessarily worry about too much in the past, but people are afraid to call us, and because they're afraid we're going to take their property and destroy it and whatnot. That's not true. So it's just try to inform you guys what happens when we have a homeless encampment. Now, obviously, if there's no public threat, public safety issues, they're in the woods somewhere on maybe city property, we'll post a 24-hour notice on their stuff. We'll leave it there, and then they'll know that it's time to vacate and move along to the shelter. After 24 hours, we will go take that property and remove it, and then we will hold that property for 30 days, and then and when they come back, they'll know exactly where to come pick up that property. So there's no reason not to call us. We'll take care of it, and there won't be too many issues there. But lastly, I just want to leave with this. The number one priority is safety. Safety of the employee, safety of the business. However, it's still very important to catch the bad guy, because the victims will have peace knowing they're captured. So obviously, like I said already, the safety of the business is most important. Safety of the victims is most important. All that other stuff, the witnesses and all that, we'll handle that after the fact. But I can't tell you how many times we've had cases, robberies, shootings, murders, when there's that timeline, we don't have somebody in custody. I can't tell you how many victims I've talked to over my career who are just terrified while that person's out on the street. And that's what we work for. That's where our goal is to give the victims the peace of mind to know they can keep moving forward and keep plugging along. And then once we get that person in custody, they'll deal with the court system and all that stuff. But obviously, help us, help you. And that's why we talk a lot about business, the physical security measures of your business. That's why we talk about that stuff, so we can catch the bad guy and help keep them safe. So with that, obviously, we'll have a little bit of Q&A at the end, I think, if we have any questions. But I appreciate everybody listening. Some of this stuff is super simple, but just be prepared and call us if you need us. So I thank you all for taking this 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and listening to me. So thank you all.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? All right, so we're going to talk about a term called community risk reduction. And who's heard that term? This is going to be a very audience participation type speech here. Nobody's heard that. So both police and fire, we respond a lot together, and all we're looking for is to make your business, our community, safer. And Chief Catton talked about a couple of things. I'm going to talk about a couple of things that we can do. But you'll hear that term, it's starting to really get traction, is community risk reduction. We respond on a lot of calls, probably over 5,300 we'll respond on this year. But if we can do things as your fire department, your police department, and you as business owners and employees to make those responses less, that's okay. We love running calls, but if we can do things to make you guys safer, that's our number one goal. First of all, I'm going to talk about our inspection program. And everybody, no one likes inspections, I get it. But I want you guys to know, as the business community, we're just looking for that compliance, that community risk reduction portion of it. Who here has received one of our letters from Assistant Chief Chris Ricker over here? He oversees it, about some recommendations. Nobody. Well, that's good. You have? It's okay. So the whole program is designed, our lieutenants go out and we inspect every business every other year. Our high targets that we think could be more detrimental if there was a fire, we try to get in every year. But the whole program is designed to just let you know what we need out of you guys. There's no fines. I can promise you as the fire chief, I'm not looking to shut down any business. And when we work together with common sense approaches, we can get all of that figured out without any problems. I promise you that. So don't get nervous if you get that letter, oh man, they're gonna come shut. No, that's not the goal of the program whatsoever. With those letters, a lot of it is just addresses, Knox box locations, It's nothing, no one's gonna come in and say, if you don't have a sprinkler system today, you need one tomorrow. It's not that. It's just simple things to make us able to do our job more efficient. Who here has fire alarms in their building? A lot, right? So they go off when there's not a fire, believe it or not, and we still respond. When that happens, we don't know if it's a real fire or not a fire, so we're gonna send the right amount of equipment to mitigate that problem if it was on fire. Who here has called back to the dispatch center and said, hey, it's a false alarm, don't send the fire department? Right, happens a lot. Do we still come? Yes, and the reason why that is, we talked about bad employees that do bad things. Sometimes someone will set a fire and then they'll call it in and say, it's a false alarm, and really the building's on fire. So we're gonna send a response. When we get there, if someone can meet us out front and let us know it's a false alarm, then we can slow everybody else down or defer them and they don't need to come. But what's most important is everybody's got that alarm panel. Does everybody know the code to shut it off? Because we don't. As the fire department, we don't have a magic code and we don't have a magic key that shuts it off. So one of the things I recommend is for the supervisors or whatever in your chain of command, make sure you guys know how to shut that alarm off. Because I kid you not, 9 times out of 10, people look at us as the fire department, well, can you shut it off? No, we don't have that code. So if you do have those codes and you know it's a false alarm, we want you to hit the silence button. So that means your strobes still keep going, but the big horn scaring everybody, those silence, and then we can come in and the alarm panel will tell us where the problem is. If you guys hit reset, it clears it out and we don't know what the problem was, where the area maybe needs to be addressed or fixed. So does everybody understand what I'm saying? There's a difference between silence and reset, and we just want you to hit the silence button if there's not a fire. If there's a real fire, we don't want you to touch it, we want you to run out of the building. Maintenance personnel. I cannot thank those folks enough. We have some very large facilities in the city, and those men and women that hold those titles, they know those buildings better than we do. We're kind of we got an idea of how every fire system runs or every HVAC unit, but the people that have those titles in those specific buildings, they're the building experts. Those are the people we look for on, hey, it says it's a rooftop unit number 7. Is that on this side of the building or that side of the building? So those folks are fundamentally make it easier for us to do our job. Knox boxes. Who has a Knox box? Just like Chief Catton was saying, if you change locks, that's okay. Just give us a call, let us come in, switch out the key. They're a secure system. No one needs to be worried that the general public is going to be able to access their building. Those actually, they're not cheap. They're a couple $100, but I promise you it's cheaper than an axe through a glass door. I promise you. And that's the whole reason for it, is allow us to access your building at 2 o'clock in the morning when someone says there's smoke in there or the fire alarm's going off. The city of East Peoria now operates out of 4 stations thanks to the council, and I can promise you that we will put a fire engine and or an ambulance at your address within 4 minutes that is fully staffed with career professional firefighters and all paramedics. There's no other community that can do that. With that being said, 4 minutes. There's a lot that needs to happen from you guys for a chance of survival. First of all, if it's a fire, we don't want you to try to put it out. If it's a little kitchen fire and you got a fire extinguisher and you know how to use it, you can try. But once it gets too big, get out of the building, get your staff out of the building. Most typical fires, they grow double in size every 60 to 90 seconds. So what turns into a little kitchen fire becomes a big kitchen fire in a matter of a couple minutes. And for us, we can replace buildings, we can replace furniture, but we can't replace you guys. And for you guys that are supervisors and your staff, you care about your employees, just don't have them be firemen for the day. Just leave the building and let us put it out. with that being said, we also are an ALS ambulance company, so we run a lot of medical calls. Who's had a medical incident at their facility? A lot, right? We run a lot of calls. Location, location, location is the key. So when you guys call 911, the dispatcher is going to ask you what is going to feel like 100 questions. It's probably 7, but we deal with this stuff every day, multiple times a day. The general public doesn't. So answer those questions, but when I say location, we have big buildings. If you just tell the dispatcher it's row J, aisle 2, seat 4, I have no idea where that is. So if you can take someone to the front door that can lead us in, we can do our job more effectively, more efficiently, and give those patients the best benefit. With that being said, on a cardiac arrest, has anybody unfortunately had that happen at their facility? Who has AEDs at their facility? Who trains their staff in CPR? Who does the refreshers? Or is it just, we got this 10 years ago and we've never seen it, never opened it? How many, so that AED laying there usually is mounted on a wall. How many's walked by and been like, oh, I wonder what that does? I'm telling you, like, we're all guilty. We train every day because it's our environment. You guys train every day in your professional environment, but sometimes we probably overlook some simple things that can help people. The American Heart Association has said that every 60 seconds, when chest compressions are not done, your chance of survival drops by 10%. What did I say our response time is? So if we do nothing, 40%, I mean, we're really behind the power curve at that point. And everybody remembers the days of where they would say mouth to mouth. That's long gone. It's just chest compressions. And you want to compress the chest 100 to 120 times a minute. And there's this song that Chief Cat said he would sing. That's Staying Alive. That's the beat of 100. I think it's 114 is that song. Unfortunately, it's also another one, Bites the Dust, is within the 100 and 120 beats a minute. It is. So I do want 2 volunteers, preferably ones that maybe haven't just had a CPR class. And I would like you guys to come up. This isn't nobody to get in trouble, but it just shows I've got a mannequin and we've got an AED, and I want you to do it for 4 minutes. It seems like an eternity. They recommend switching out every rescuer that's doing chest compressions every 2 minutes. Sometimes it's sooner. 4 minutes seems quick, but it takes a long time. It's kind of like a Friday afternoon, those last 4 minutes of your work. It just keeps going and going. So if I can get 2 volunteers, somebody's got to do it.
Right.
Oh, I got 2 right there. I got 2. So if you guys don't, I'll put this guy over here. And you guys come on up. And so we're looking for that 100 to 120 chest compressions a minute. And our mannequins, when you start the chest compressions, you'll hear a click and you'll see some green lights. You want to just keep those lights green the entire time. And while you're starting chest compressions, after someone's called 911, someone's going to start chest compressions. Believe me, if they don't need them, they're going to tell you, and that's okay. It is a violent process. Ribs break. It's not pretty, but it's the only way you can survive a cardiac arrest. So we'll start chest compressions and have you get the AED, and then we'll switch out. Yeah, go.
You have to sing.
Remove clothing from patient's chest. Pull red handle to reveal pads. Look at pictures on pads. Apply pads to bare skin exactly as shown in the picture. Press pads firmly. Hold red handle to reveal pads. Look at pictures on pads. Apply pads to bare skin, exactly as shown in the pictures. Press pads firmly. Hold red handle to reveal pads. Look at pictures on pads. Apply pads to bare skin, exactly as shown in the pictures. Press pads firmly. Hold red handle to reveal pads. Look at pictures on pads. Apply pads to bare skin. Hold red handle to reveal pads.
So I'm gonna help, so
Pictures on pads.
what would happen if this was a real patient? It would start giving you prompts. And it's gonna analyze the heart, and then it'll tell you to clear and shock if that's the right heart rhythm. But I don't wanna fool you guys, an AED isn't gonna save everybody. There's certain cardiac rhythms that allows it to shock, and that's it. So when you guys see the flat line, like you've seen that on the TV, that can't be shocked. So if you see the squiggly lines on the TV, those are the ones that machine is able to shock. When we show up as paramedics and put on more advanced life support equipment, we're able to do a little bit more than just that device. We look at the rhythm, we look at different spots in the rhythm. So that's all you guys have to do for 4 minutes to give your employees a chance. We got a new mascot. It's always the fire.
But really, our job as chiefs that run our departments is to keep you guys safe. If you have questions, we're a phone call away. We're happy to come in and sit down and explain things. We offer this AED training. We offer CPR classes. My contact information is, you can Google it. Believe it or not, it's crazy. But we're here to help you. You guys are a great business community, and it's easy to be your fire chief when we keep the good communication and you guys are easy to work with. And any problems that his department or my department have, when we sit down with the business owners, the employees, and common sense prevails, everybody's happy at the end. And that's what we're here for. So I want you to know that your businesses are safe in our hands, your employees are safe in our hands, and when we work together, we can make anything happen. With that, I'll bring Chief Catton back up here. Questions for any of us? We gotta have one question.
This is more police related. I know that, I don't know if it's true, but it seems like on my social media, there's been an uptick of vehicle thefts and robberies of vehicles. Is there a particular vehicle that you would discourage people from purchasing because it seems to be taken a lot?
Not Fords. Yeah, those are great. We drive them. They're awesome. No, there was. He might be able to talk about it more than I can, but there are a couple vehicles out there that were being started by I don't know, some transmitters or something like that. But yeah, there is an uptick of that, and generally those are all of our juvenile crimes. We get so. I give the council a ton of credit. When I became chief, or no, I was detective sergeant at the time. So I came to them and asked for flock cameras in our town, and they didn't even hesitate. It was probably the single greatest investment for us, and it will locate stolen vehicles that come through town. It's a huge problem because they're juveniles, and they don't stop for us. So the state discourages any vehicle pursuits, which is generally the right method not to pursue. It's too much of a public risk to a certain degree. So that's actually, that's a good question, and there is an uptick. I don't know exactly what vehicles were. Do you guys know? I think there was Kias. Kias, I think, were a big one. Maybe not to buy if you sell Kias. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to discourage any businesses, but that's a big one. But right now, it doesn't matter. What we're seeing in our local area, it doesn't matter. It's opportunity. It's opportunity. So.
I got a question.
Yes, Mike.
Are our officers in the schools armed?
They are. Yep. Our SROs do a great job. They are. We encourage our officers actually to stay in full uniform when they're in the schools. So they generally are for the most part. They will dress a little bit different, but they're fully prepared at all of our schools. We just did active shooter training this year again. We did 12 hours of it, and we're prepared. We're absolutely prepared for anything that happens in this town. We train a lot on that. So.
What do the SROs do when there is an active event going on in the school?
Good question. So we have SRO in the high school. We have SRO in the junior high. We also have an SRO in the feeder schools. So what they do, it depends on what level they're at, right? We're starting the SRO in the schools, the feeder schools, the grade schools. We're trying to push them to more little education and community enrichment. That's really what we want out of the smaller schools. We all probably grew up on DARE. They said their program didn't work. I can't say that I'm actually in law enforcement because of DARE, but it didn't hurt. So I like that community, getting our juveniles and our kids to understand that what you're seeing on TV is not quite factual. So that's what they do there. In the junior high, it's a lot of the same stuff. We don't do a lot of discipline inside of our smaller schools. There's some discipline that has to happen, or crimes that get committed in school. We'll deal with those whether we were in the school or not in the school. So at the high school level, but that's just it, just the high school level. But that's what they're doing. They're just being a community resource for these kids. It's a good question.
This would be a question for both of you gentlemen. Recruiting and staffing, how's that been for you both?
I'll let him talk on that first.
So it's gotten better. The last 3 years have been dismal applicants, to say the best. We have 6 in the academy currently. We just had 6 graduate in August. And when those guys get out of the academy, we'll be 1 shy of being full staff. And it's probably the first time in 3 years, I would say, that we're at that number. We are currently testing again, and I think the last number I heard was 18 or 20 people were interested, and that'll grow. So it's gotten better. Within the last couple of years, we've had 1 person on a list, 3 people on a list. 20 years ago when I tested, there was 300 people that would test. So.
Yeah, and I'll say we're fully staffed. Yes, thank you. So we attend all the police and fire meetings along with the mayor. We tease a little bit. Never in my wildest dream did I ever think we would be fully staffed. They weren't, because that was the direction. It's probably the direction I should have went, but
Most cops say that.
Yeah. Nobody accused me of being super smart, so. But we are fully staffed as of last week. We were in the same boat. When I took over as chief, we were 8 officers down for a department of 49 at the time. That's a large amount of people we were missing. So we were struggling real bad for manpower. Our guys were working a lot of hours, a lot of overtime. But we are fully staffed now, and our numbers are increasing on our testing, so it is encouraging. We might be seeing a little bit of a turn in law enforcement and also fire, as he just said. It's very encouraging. We're getting a lot of people, and I think that's a credit to our community. I can tell you right now, we have a lateral program. You got to be a law enforcement officer for 2 years, and you can come over as a lateral. It's not the right term, but that's what people are familiar with, the lateral program. And that really saved our department. But I credit the council, the community, and every resident in the city of East Peoria, because I can't say the city of East Peoria was a destination for law enforcement. It is now. The last hires that we've had are all been laterals because they want to come here, because they want to be in this community. So that's what's encouraging about law enforcement for us. But yeah, we're fully staffed. Thank you.
Dave, Bobby, suggestion on, say there is a heart attack or something happens, what's the best idea or best solution to have? Who calls? Because if you're in a panic situation, everybody's running, scrambling. So what would you suggest everyone, how to handle that?
So I would say everyone call. I'd rather have 10 people call than no one. So if one of your coworkers does go down and someone says, hey, call 911, just echo that back. Hey, I'm calling 911, because you don't want to stand there doing what those gentlemen just did for 12 minutes and then realize no one called 911. So just whoever's going to call, echo that to the group. Hey, I'm calling 911.
Any other questions? They're here.
Just a comment. We've had the opportunity to interact with your people several times in our business. And I compliment both of you for the high level of service that you provide, the caring, the empathy, and you listen to us about what's going on, whether it be a criminal situation or an employee who goes down and we call 911. Top-notch, high character, high quality. Thank you.
I had a situation and I learned something when I called the police. I did not have a key hidden for the fire department or the police to get into my home. Do you encourage everybody to do that? So you would know where the key is?
I knew you'd ask some question like that. I know. So she has a great point. Like, should she hide a key? Obviously, there's some security issues with that, but they make some pretty good, I don't know, devices that you can use to hide that. So that is good, especially if there's only, if someone's home alone a lot and you wouldn't be able to open the door. Obviously, if your house is super busy and someone can open the door, not all 5 of you are going to have a heart attack at the same time, I promise. But yeah, that's a good point. And the thing is you can tell the dispatcher that, hey, I have a key in a rock to the left of the flower pot, and it doesn't get put over the air. We all have computers in our machines and in the police cars, so they type that message. So somebody sitting in scanner land isn't going to say, well, I know Mrs. Tucker's got that key to the left of that flower pot. So there is a way that secure message gets transferred to us, so it is okay to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, we can keep on file through our dispatch center as well. Different notes or contact information. Some people will have a neighbor that either has a spare key or that's the person to contact, especially if you're not home you have a secondary person that you want us to call, we can call that person to be your contact, whether that is a business or a residence, we can do that. We also have very few, but we have a few people who give us our garage door code, and we'll store that in our system as well. Obviously, again, we got options. We got options.
But then Bobby doesn't get to use the axe, do you?
Yeah.
Knock your door down.
We don't get axe, we have to use our knee, and we usually blow those out. So we prefer to use a key.
All right, any other questions? All right, guys, thank you. All right, if we could, Mayor Call, a couple updates from the city.
Thank you, Rick. Just want to point out how much we appreciate these guys and all the men and women that serve under them. Thank you for your comments. I agree with you. I think, you know, I look at where both these departments are at today compared to where they were 5-10 years ago, and I can't say enough good things about them. But I want everybody to know, you know, and I appreciate this council. This council's been together for 5 years, and its second term together, but we understand the importance of public safety. And I say this about every time I get to speak in front of a group of law enforcement, welcome these folks to our community. Sheriff's Association, they do a conference here every fall, and I have the privilege of getting up and welcoming all these sheriffs. Not all 102 show up, but usually there's 60 to 70 of them with the same message, you know, that we don't apologize for having a safe community. Public safety is something we're absolutely committed to. We understand the importance, not just for residents, for members of our business community. So we don't apologize for ensuring that we keep our communities safe. So one of the updates I want to provide, if you've paid attention to the news, is the fact that we're building a brand new police station. So I want to put things in perspective. The current public safety building that houses Central Firehouse and the police department was constructed, I believe, in 1987 is when they moved in, and that became operational. The police side of that is about 6,500 square feet. When the council went out and we did a space needs study with professionals, that's what they do. They identified the need between 35 and 40,000 square feet just for the police department. You know, you look at all the changes recently with the state laws, with the Safety Act, all the training requirements, all the evidence storage. We have body cameras, which is, nobody had any clue 6 years ago when body cameras became a thing on the storage and the FOIAs and the amount of stuff that goes into them, maintaining these records. So there's a lot of stuff that requires a lot of space, not to mention all of the training. So the new facility will have training where our guys don't have to go out for training. That's all done under one roof. But this new building will be about 40,000 square feet, and there is not 1 square foot in that building that does not have a function. It is not wasted space. It's not cheap either. It's about $22 million, but it's an absolute necessity. And I know, there's some folks that have been pretty critical. Oh, why are we building a $20 million police station? We don't need that. The one we have now just works. I'll guarantee you, they've never stepped 1 foot in that building. And I'm not discounting where it was in 1987. We have 50 sworn officers. We didn't have 50 in 1987. So, as we grow, this building is a 50-year build. I mean, that's our target, is we're going to build something that will still be functional in 50 years with where it's headed. That's getting ready to go out for bid. River City Construction and FGM Architects, Rob Culp, who's here with Midwest. It's a great project. Very pleased, and I think the public's really going to be proud and really happy with this new facility. It'll sit right at Clock Tower and Camp, and it's going to be pretty prevalent. There's only a couple of things that I provided input that really I felt were important. And number one, that badge that's on their uniform, it will be displayed proudly, very prominently on a wall at the front of that building. So everybody knows that's the police station. And it goes back into public safety. You know, I'm not just here to brag about the police department. I'm here to brag about all the services that the city provides its citizens and members of our business community. It's just, we couldn't do it without all these men and women that put in 100% effort every day to provide those services to you. So for that, I'm very grateful for all that they do. The other thing I do want to touch on just real quick, you'll see if you go down next to City Hall, that ugly parking garage. Yes, it will be completely surrounded except for a small portion on the City Hall library side of the parking lot where people will be going in and out of it. But you see progress is being made on that development. It is going to be a very, very nice development in downtown East Peoria. And they're starting on the commercial space now, but that development wraps completely around that garage and butts up to City Hall. So they're actually a little ahead of schedule, I would say, from my perspective. They're hoping to have 70 units done. They have a waiting list on folks that want to rent those apartments, but they'll have 70 units done. I think her target is like April 1st, and they're ahead of schedule on that. Weather has been super phenomenal for those guys to keep plugging along, but that's going to be a nice development down there. Just real quick, one other thing I want to touch on, the police chief did on homeless stuff. So I've already had the media reach out and want to do interviews on, wow, are you just following Pekin's footsteps? No, to the chief's point, we've always had an ordinance, and when the Supreme Court ruled, I felt that it validated what East Peoria has done all along. And it's not being heartless, it's not being not compassionate. Some of these folks, especially the ones that the police have to deal with on a regular basis, they're in that situation by choice. You're not going to convince them otherwise. You can only, lead a horse to water. You can't force it to drink. But at the end of the day, I will say this: I've been criticized by not just members of my family, but people that have known my family for years. Why are you so incompassionate about that? I'm not. But public spaces that we develop and make investments in with your tax money are for everybody's benefit. We maintain those spaces. They're not there for someone to come in and trash. And I got to tell you, some of these encampments, they are a public health safety concern. You have needles. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've walked around the perimeter of our building. I know the library folks are here too. And without thinking, I'm picking up trash. I don't know what I'm grabbing. I never really thought about it. I go back in City Hall and they're like, you didn't even have gloves on. That was just dumb. Well, you're probably right. Because we put those Sharpie containers in the bathroom. They don't care. They're not walking the 10 feet into the building and disposing of their needles. They're going to dump it right there. We have kids and everything else down there all the time. To me, that's a public safety hazard. I don't apologize for that. And nor will I. And it's not a matter of being, incompassionate. It's just a matter of doing what I feel is the right thing. We guide them to the resources that are there for them. Peoria, Pekin area, we have a lot of nonprofits. That's what they do. And they're extremely well funded by the state of Illinois. So, I kind of throw it back on them. What are you doing with the dollars that you provided year after year? It's not just, I don't feel it's right just to dump it on the laps of the municipalities like they're the bad guys here. There's a purpose for everything, but we don't just go in and just rudely tell someone to take a hike. We don't work like that. But one of the things I want to mention to drive a point home, I showed up at the work one morning, and it was like 6:30 in the morning. It was still dark. It was in fall time, and these guys probably know where I'm going. And as I go to the employee entrance, there is glass and liquid everywhere. like someone took a bottle of alcohol and just slammed it right at our back door. So I sidestep it, go in the building, drop my stuff off. I go out there and I'm literally picking up every piece of glass with my hands. And I'm like, man, this is just terrible. I'm thinking I'm picking up a thing of wine. Get done, clean everything up, go in and I look at the camera. I just picked up glass out of someone's urine. This guy decided to camp right outside of our building, drank a couple bottles of wine or some type of alcohol, and I just assumed he smashed it. That was his urine. And I'm telling you, we deal with this stuff all the time, and I just don't have a high tolerance for that. You know, pick up after yourself, be respectful. So, anyway, didn't mean to get on that, but yeah, for what it's worth, I did really wash my hands very well. But anyway, any questions for me or any of the elected officials while they're here? No? Okay, Rick? Yep.
We would shake, but that's okay.
Yeah. Did I tell you that it was Rick?
It was me on camera.
Yeah, I had nowhere else to go that day, so what the heck, you know. So, again, I would challenge you to find any community that has a better public works, the sports complex, the police, the fire, administrative staff, council, everywhere, what they do. So guys, stand, please. City guys, city people. And we're very fortunate because we work with them, I would say almost daily, you know, with everything.
The branding. Can I say?
Oh, sure, that's a very important part.
I'm sorry, just one
No,
other
no.
quick thing.
No,
I
this
don't
is-
mean to keep
This is cool.
This is a big deal. So everyone knows we did a branding initiative. We hired branding professionals that were based out of Florida. And it's something that, you know, was kind of near and dear to a lot of our hearts. You know, we've not seen a refresh in East Peoria in 40 years. And we just felt it was necessary to kind of brand our community in a new, fresh way, not just to retain folks that are here and businesses that are here, but to attract new ones. And oftentimes, you would be surprised, one of the things they identified in survey was how many people from outside of the Peoria region just assumed East Peoria is the east side of Peoria. And one of the things that we felt was very important was to differentiate ourselves from every other community. And I'm super pleased we got the results back. We've kind of finalized everything. The commissioners were just briefed through yesterday, so now all the elected officials have seen the results of that. You're going to see us probably within the near future. Ty and I are working with some other groups of individuals to determine how we're going to roll that out. But we're super excited about where it's at. So it'll be a change that you'll see through time. We're not just going to go out and immediately change the logo and all that and update all the city's equipment with the new stuff. There's going to be kind of a strategy behind how we roll that out. But I sure hope that you guys are as excited as we are when this does roll out. So we just received that last Friday, and stay tuned, and I hope you like it. So thanks.
It is cool. If you want to see what it is, call me. We'll talk. Yeah, so that scares him. All right, golf outing coming up next week. If you've not signed up, we do have morning slots, a couple more openings in the morning. And if you have any door prizes for the raffles, we'd appreciate that. Get a hold of my boss, Katrina. You know, she'll take care of it for you. Vietnam Wall, Danny Decker, Dan, Commissioner. That's coming the 25th through the 29th. We had it, 4 years ago? 5 years ago? 4 years ago. And it's going to be at Levy Park, down by City Hall. Dan needs volunteers to help put it together. Need volunteers to tear it down, and then also volunteers to man it during the evening or daytime to help people find their anyone that they want to see on the wall. So, Dan, anything else? Oh, sponsors. yeah, he does need sponsors for it because it does cost to bring it. And then anything that exceeds that is going to go to the honor flight, which was just this week, if you saw the news. So, Dan, did I miss anything? Okay, cool. Okay, Oktoberfest, the Business Expo, coming, it's going to be right here, provided James clears everything, gets us all set up. So, it's a great evening. It's 4:30 to 6:30. Public is welcome, so pass the word. This year we've got several restaurants that are going to be here with food and different things to display, and then businesses and everyone here. So it's a fun night, and it's only just a couple hours, so be here. I know Federal's going to bring the truck this year. We got the truck coming. So Festival of Lights, Corey will take anything you got, as far as donations, sponsorships. That'll be rolling out today. Okay, we're going to blast the sponsorships. We've changed it around a little bit this year, so make sure you read what we're doing, and we appreciate the sponsorships for that. 2 new floats this year. Music's going to be on all the floats, or every third float, I think it is. Third float. We worked with the radio station. You're going to be able to set in your car or whatever too and listen to the music in there, or your, like me, a transistor radio, old fashioned. So some changes coming with that. Newsletter. Dave Malik back here with Limelight. This is going to be coming out probably in October. It's a monthly newsletter that's going to give you everything going on in East Peoria. It's kind of like the old Courier that came out. Pekin does it now, and I believe Chillicothe, the two. And so East Peoria is going to jump into this. So he's looking at anyone who would like sponsorship in it, and we'll be doing articles in it. I know the mayor's going to be doing things. City will be able to put some things in. And then also he's going to be searching to some of the businesses to probably do some comments or some editorials on different things. We don't get into the politics, we don't get into all that stuff. It's just what's going on in the community type thing. And it would be mailed to everyone in the 61611 zip code. So if your business is here, or if you live in East Peoria in the 61611, you'll get it. So that's coming up. That's about it. And if you don't know, Katrina's going to be leaving us here in the near future. She's, can I say it, in March, expecting the second child in March. Malachi will have, do we know brother, sister yet? Still too early, but no, she's going to be taking care of the kids. I can only imagine a 13-month and a newborn. She might want to come back and work, So we're searching right now for someone. It's going to be very hard to replace her. I know that, and we appreciate all she's done. Magnificent. It's been a couple years now, and just great times, and can't thank her enough for what she's done. Mayor, I think you would echo that, and everybody on the board members. Just been a great time. So anything else for the good of the cause? All good? All right, well, again, thanks everybody. Appreciate it.